Well, this is my Pixel 8 Pro camera, selfie camera, and it's illuminating me while it's filming me, which is pretty impressive. This is why I bought this phone. Also, it allows me to zoom while I'm filming. It doesn't do it nice and smoothly or anything, but no other phone does it at all. So I switch between 1.4, and then if I stretch, no, maybe my fingers are too slippery. So it looks like it's all just digital zoom, so you're not going to get a nice high-res image if I do that. It's pretty useless actually, but yeah. So if I try to get close-ups and so on, I feel like the autofocus isn't working very well either. If I click on that, yeah, these are not my great glasses as well. Okay, these ones are pretty dirty, but at least I can see more of what's going on. So this is 1 times standard. Can I zoom out further? Like more widescreen? No, that's the widest. And then if I zoom in, that's clearly digital zoom, which is just like not a real lens related zoom. But other phones don't allow me to illuminate my face at all, and it's very easy for me to see where the camera is when I'm looking, because there's light all around the circle, which is good. I shaved my face today, which is good, so I feel cleaner. The scraggly grays have become, well, very visible. I want to sort of just shave all the sides and back short. I have thought in the past of buying a dog groomer with a vacuum built into it, which seems like the only reasonably priced version of something which has clippers with a vacuum attached. As you know, clippers bend the hairs over and don't work beyond a certain length. The hairs have to be sticking up, which only happens when hairs are short. So if hairs are long, it doesn't work. And then, in order to make this a simple process for myself going forward in the future, what I would do is I'd make a full hairpiece that's this big, and I just sit it down initially. So that's after the curvature of my skull. After it curves, I would start from there. You getting that? And then go down the front, which would mean obviously triple the price for me, because I would not be able to cut my hairpiece into thirds for front partials anymore. So with the price topic aside, the second question is, can I shave this area with a front-facing mirror, or do I now need to evolve to an elaborate mirror system so I can see the top of my new shave zone, which will be at least double pretty much the area. So that's where my current hairpiece finishes, and I would be going back to about there. So maybe just 50% more. Either way, I certainly cannot get more than one hairpiece out of a unit in the future. So price higher. Can I shave it? Don't know. And then thirdly, would their surrounding hairs create a thicket perimeter, or would those hairs be sort of facing away so that the edges of the hairpiece need to be exactly nice looking? Because if they're not, I wouldn't just have to be paranoid about the front hairline, I'd have to be paranoid about being seen by anybody from any angle. If that thicket perimeter is good, if it works, then all I would ever have to do is just kind of use a dog grooming clippers to just do my whole head, one length only, and then I just smack that hairpiece down and it's all done, easy. No more hairstyling around the back and sides ever again. No more having to keep this bit long and flopping it forward. It would simply be shave all of that one length, clean the shave zone with a razor, and just stick down the new hairpiece. One major problem that would solve for me is that I've got these temple points because of the leaf shapedness of my stencil at the moment, and that problem always results in a little bit of, like, if you lift that up, there's always a little bit of a corner that's not quite lining up with the natural perimeter of my bio hair, and I want to eliminate that problem, and it would be eliminated if that was curved up around. So just make sure it gets to the edge, so there's no gap, no overhang, which is going to be an ongoing problem if the stencil and shave zone are not exactly the same size and my accuracy of placement is not accurate. But I would say it is the ultimate solution going forward before I bald on the back of my crown properly back here, and then I have to have a full topper that actually goes all the way around. But given that I'm already spending full price, it will not be a dramatic problem in terms of price increase, because I'll already have jumped up from 1/3 the price of a hairpiece to the full price of a hairpiece. And when I do go 3 times as much money, I may have to join the rest of you in being paranoid about how durable the hairpiece is. I also have to join you in figuring out how the fuck I'm supposed to shave the top and back of my own head without having eyeballs on the back of my head. As it stands, I still have a few hairpieces left that are just front partials. I feel like I don't want to start dealing with this issue until they've run out. But I said that last time and they did run out and I just made more. So I'm not that keen to make this harder than it needs to be for myself. The main thing is, when I wear these front partials, a lot of the time I'm wearing them and they're not proper front hairpieces. They're side or back hairpieces, and I complained about them, but they were never made to be positioned on the back. Hairpieces are just simply not made well because they're forced into a particular direction for some reason when they're stitched in. I guess what has to happen is they're threaded, but they're threaded in such a way that the hair that goes down has to go a little journey under the plastic and then come back up. That little journey is a straight line between the in point and the out point of that one hair, which has now become 2 hairs. But if you pulled it, it's 1 hair, right? It's a 1 foot long hair that's been threaded and now it's coming out at 6 inches each side, minus that little gap area where it's gone in and gone across and then come back up. That passageway is stopping the hair from being able to pivot in any direction other than the forced direction of that thread, which means the hair is not brushable in all directions. And it also means that when the person in the factory is making the hairpiece, they're supposed to stagger them so that there's not one line and then one line and then one line and they are all in alignment all the way through. Otherwise it doesn't look natural. It looks like fake factory made shit. They're supposed to stagger it, but to think that this is done by hand is crazy. It's a huge amount of effort. I don't know why they haven't developed machines that just do 1 million hairpieces an hour. They still don't do that. If you think about the way your paper feeds into a printer, in the old days it used to have to have holes on it, and then you would tear off those holes at the end with perforation, and you'd be left with a fairly nice piece of paper with just like little stamp edges. But nowadays they've got a rubber roller that just rolls and grips the page, and they've cleverly done that, and all modern printers can now just pick up a piece of paper just simply by rolling it and gripping it and anticipating that the page will slide across the top of the other pages. And I guess they've just measured the amount of pressure that it's expected, and it's quite lenient with various different paper thicknesses, but it works every time. I've had multiple printers now that can do this, and if we think about that sort of technology, there's no reason to think that rolling along hairs that are straight maybe only could result in that kind of picking out one hair at a time and threading it with a machine and then moving on. Alternatively, we just use some kind of fishing line that's got a huge spool and it's not real hair. I don't know how they would do it, but if you're a hair company and you're making millions of dollars, that's what you would do. You would invent that machine, and then you could multiply out your production, and you would just kill the industry, and you would have 100% monopoly on everything. So if you were running a hair company, you would make that machine. But it currently does not exist. The other thing is that whole method of V-loop threading, go down, go along a little journey, then come back up, is not good because you can't brush in any direction. The ultimate, you would think, would be down, sit in a bunch of plastic, and just stay there. And then the hair can bend left, right, whatever. I've never seen this effectively work, but it seems like it should be the way to do it. I'd rather have little hairs occasionally fall out, or maybe one little knot at the base, then lock it in, but then, I don't know, maybe that in that system, you would simply... Okay, think about this, right? If you had a hair with a little... Okay, so I've played guitar a lot over the years. Threading a string in most guitars these days involves having a ball on the end of the string, and the ball is the last thing you thread. So you thread, you put the string down through the hole in the guitar. You come up through the is it called the bridge of the guitar where there are 6 holes. You go up through the relevant hole and just pull it, and it just locks because that little circle has just locked in it and it can't fit through the hole. They could do something similar to that potentially on a very small scale with the hairs when making a hairpiece, and then just when they put the plastic over the back, the poly, the liquid poly, to seal it, those little holes can't come out the other way again either. Of course, they would have to be bleached. Otherwise, you'll have little black dots all throughout the hairpiece, really thick black ones. Also, would it be lumpy? I don't know. They do make knots in lace pieces, and that doesn't seem that lumpy. They've managed to tie those in knots. But the knot system forces the hairs, because of the knottage, to really want to make those two hairs act together as a unit, which sort of makes them move together, I guess. They can't go like that, they just go like that, because they're sort of forced, because in the lace system, they're on either a horizontal or a, they're both horizontal, on a, let's say an X or a Y axis thread, so it doesn't really want to pivot that way, it only wants to pivot that way. Just got this new Pixel 8 Pro phone, lots of problems with it, lots of big teething issues, but the whole reason I bought it was basically for this camera. Hopefully this has given you a clear bit of footage here. So, lace versus poly base is one question. I've always assumed poly uses knots and lace uses knots and poly uses V-loops. But there are alternatives to V-loops. One is the injected. There are types of injection, and I need to explore them more, but in all the examples that I've seen so far, they simply don't work. I would rather hairs be point out like natural hairs would point out of your head if they were loose, and have full brushability than what we've currently been using. Lace with knots and poly with V-loops. If it's so breakable that it's just, you'll be bald in 2 days, or just the head on the pillow will just make all the hairs fall out. Obviously that's unacceptable. And now I understand with something that was injected hairs or whatever it's called, I don't know what it's called. I've known it before, but I've forgotten. With all these methods, I'm pretty sure the plastic has to be thicker. I don't want all these pop-ups coming up on the screen while I'm recording. So, in the meantime, I'll continue to buy lace with V-loops. In terms of continuously buying full hair pieces and cutting into thirds. That's never been good for me. You know that the back 2/3 are absolutely no. All these years that I've been doing that has simply been for this channel to show you the full hairpiece, right? What's best for me is that all hairs are running in the same direction, and I know how to do that. I order a custom piece, basically a rectangle or something, where all the hairs are flowing in the same direction. If I cut it out, every hairpiece will be usable. But for the sake of this channel, I've been purchasing standard off-the-shelf stock hairpieces. I don't think I'll continue to do that going forward. I think what I will do is whatever I need, I will buy, because I'm sick of having dodgy hairpieces with sideways stitching and that little Auschwitz tag always in the corner, etc. Yeah, I think if you want what you want from your hairpiece, specifically, if you've already worn a bunch of stock pieces and you know what their shortcomings are and you want something a bit more, like for example, if you like to wear poly and they haven't bleached the roots so that you're always stuck with this doll's hair effect on the front hairline, order it custom. I don't know that it's significantly different price from stock. Often stock though will have deals, and those deals will generally evaporate out of existence when you order a custom piece, because now they've got to do exactly what you want instead of just going, see those 3,000 hair pieces that are identical, you can just have one of them for cheap. Because can you think some people have just, what a hard job that must be to thread hair pieces, seriously. I wouldn't want to do it. So I've said it before about the pros and cons of each lace and poly type hairpiece. For example, I think most people would agree that Swiss lace medium light density is the best looking realistic hairpiece you can get. But like I've said, it's hard to deal with lace and glue together. There's no alternative to the glue, so we have to put glue. You can put tape, but what the hell are you doing? Tape would be for the back and sides where people can't see all of that area, where nobody's looking. Along the front hairline, you pretty much got to use glue. And when you use glue and lace, how you're supposed to find where it's going to line up exactly. It's hit and miss, isn't it? It's hard to do, and it peels and it gets dirty, and it needs to be redone every 2 days because you sweat, and then when you do that, you're messing it up again. So you're trying to touch up bits and pieces, and then you can't wear a hat with lace because it'll squish it'll heat them up, and the glue will melt through, and you'll mess up the hairpiece. I'm still waiting on a custom order from a while ago. Custom orders take more than 2 months. So you'd better have your stock hair supplies ready at home so that you can't run out before you go to the trouble of ordering custom orders. And just remember, they're probably never going to give you a decent deal unless you buy lots of them, because they're going to have to sit there and make exactly what you specified by hand. But they do it all the time. It's not like you're the first person to interrupt their stock making process to ask for a custom order. I mean, custom order is part of as far as I know, every hair company is basically doing custom orders. So yeah, you can get that done. The other thing is, if you want a sort of half custom order, you can just get a stock hair piece, but say, here's $15 or whatever it is to cut out my stencil exactly per hair piece probably, and then another 15 or whatever to cut the hairstyle the way you want, I think. So for 30 or 50 or whatever it is dollars, you can get the hairpiece delivered ready to put on your head without you having to mess around with it. In the grand scheme of things, money is less valuable than time when it comes to amounts of money like that. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to go to the hairdresser, aren't you? Which is going to cost money. Would you rather it just come out of the box, out of the envelope when it arrives at your house, ready to put on your head, already pre-cut? It just makes sense. So you could get stock pieces that are pre-cut. It seems very wise if you're always going to have the same sort of hairstyle and same hair length, and you haven't balded extra since your last order. It should be the same every time. So just get 10 of them. Just go out and fork out a few $1,000s and just have it all stocked away and ready, just knowing that for the next year or two you're not going to have to worry about it. Just all you have to do is your own maintenance, but there's always a fresh one ready to go. Make sure you've got all your glues, make sure you've got all your C22 solvent, your lace release if you need that stuff, your alcohol spray, your baby wipes, combs, and all the other shit you need. Because why not make your life easy by having everything ready at all times so that you can just whack it on your head.